I never thought I'd be here, sitting alone in a half-empty apartment, questioning everything I thought I knew about my marriage. 25 years. That's how long Vanessa and I were together. A quarter of a century of love, laughter, arguments, and the kind of comfort you think will last forever, until it doesn't. Vanessa and I were opposites in many ways. I've always been the steady one, the kind of man who prides himself on providing stability. I'm not flashy, I don't chase thrills. I just work hard, pay the bills, and make sure there's a roof over our heads. Vanessa, on the other hand, is a firecracker. She's vibrant, adventurous, and always looking for something new to spark her interest. I loved that about her. It balanced us, or so I thought. Things started to change as the years went by. Routine took over, dinners at the same table, vacations to the same places, and even our conversations felt rehearsed. We weren't unhappy, but we weren't exactly alive either. I thought it was just part of growing older together. Vanessa had other ideas. One evening, over a glass of wine, she looked at me with that mischievous glint in her eye. "What if we spice things up a bit?" she asked, swirling the wine in her glass. I smiled, thinking she meant a weekend getaway or maybe trying out a new restaurant. "Sure," I said. "What do you have in mind?" Her answer stopped me cold. "What if we invited someone else into the bedroom? Maybe someone younger?" I laughed, a nervous, awkward laugh because I was certain she was joking. "Good one," I said, shaking my head. But she didn't laugh. She just stared at me, waiting for an answer. I played it off, got on to some other gist. After that evening, things between us seemed normal. We went about our daily routines as if Vanessa's outrageous suggestion had been a fleeting, thoughtless comment. I convinced myself it was just her way of joking, a strange attempt to inject humor into our lives. But as the week went on, she brought it up again, this time with a seriousness that made my stomach churn. We were sitting in the living room one evening. I had just finished the football game, and with a glass of wine in hand, Vanessa casually leaned forward and said, "I've been thinking about what we talked about the other day. You know, about inviting someone else into the bedroom." Her tone was light, almost playful, but there was no mistaking the conviction in her eyes. She wasn't joking this time. "Vanessa," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "are you being serious?" She didn't flinch. Instead, she gave a little shrug and said, "Why not? It could be fun. People do it all the time. It's harmless. Just think of it as spicing things up." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Harmless? Fun. To her, maybe. But to me, the idea was unsettling. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Was this the same woman I'd been married to for 25 years? The suggestion lingered in my mind, even long after our conversation ended. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Vanessa slept peacefully beside me. I kept replaying her words, each time feeling more unsettled. Was I not enough for her anymore? Had she grown bored of me? The thought twisted in my chest like a knife. For the first time, I started to see myself through her eyes. I'd never considered myself old, but now I couldn't help but notice the faint lines on my face, the gray creeping into my hair. I wasn't as fit as I used to be. Maybe she was right. Maybe I had become predictable, too set in my ways to be exciting anymore. It wasn't just my pride that was wounded, it was my sense of identity as a husband, as a man. Vanessa had always been the adventurous one, the risk-taker, and I'd admired that about her. But now, her adventurous spirit felt like a threat to everything we'd built together. The next morning, I tried to talk to her about it. I needed her to understand how much her suggestion had hurt me. I brought it up, choosing my words carefully. "Vanessa, I've been thinking about what you said yesterday. About inviting someone else into our bedroom." I began cautiously over coffee. I couldn't hide the strain in my voice. She looked at me, her expression unreadable. "And?" she asked, not even looking up from her phone. "And it bothers me," I admitted. "I can't pretend it doesn't. It makes me feel like I'm not enough for you anymore." Vanessa put her phone down and sighed, her tone dismissive. "Oh, Eric, don't take it so seriously. It's just a fantasy. It's not like I'm saying we have to do it. I just thought it might be fun to talk about." Her casual dismissal felt like a slap in the face. "It's not just talk for me," I said, my voice firmer now. "This is our marriage we're talking about. You can't just throw something like that out there and expect me to be okay with it." She rolled her eyes. "You're overreacting. Honestly, Eric, you need to lighten up." Her words stung more than I cared to admit. I dropped the conversation, but the damage was done. Over the months that followed Vanessa's suggestion, I couldn't shake the unease growing in the pit of my stomach. It started subtly, an increase in the time she spent on her phone. At first, I brushed it off as harmless, assuming she was scrolling through social media or texting friends. But soon it became hard to ignore. She was glued to her phone sometimes late at night and even in the middle of conversations. My mind churned with questions. Who was she talking to? And why did it feel like she didn't want me to know? I began to notice patterns. Most times while chatting she'd smile or laugh softly. If I asked who it was she'd say, "Just a friend," with a casual shrug, but something about her tone made me doubt her. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I couldn't help the wave of insecurity that washed over me every time I saw her talking to someone younger, especially a man. One night, after a long day at work, I came home to find her on the couch, phone in hand, giggling. I tried to join the conversation, but she quickly locked her screen and turned her attention to the TV. My heart sank. It felt like a wall was being built between us, brick by brick, and I was standing on the outside. The breaking point came one night when Vanessa fell asleep with her phone still in her hand. My curiosity got the better of me. I hesitated, staring at the glowing screen for what felt like an eternity before gently prying it from her grasp. The screen was open to a chat conversation, with Ryan, our 28-year-old neighbor. My chest tightened as I scrolled through their messages. Their exchanges were casual and friendly, a lot of laughing emojis, playful banter, and inside jokes. There was nothing overtly inappropriate, no evidence of infidelity, but it was enough to make my stomach churn. Why was she texting Ryan so much? Especially late in the night? My mind spiraled. I could almost hear the whispers of doubt creeping in. She's replacing you. He's younger, funnier, more exciting. It was as though every insecurity I'd ever had about myself was clawing its way to the surface. I couldn't prove anything was happening between them, but I couldn't ignore the fear that it was only a matter of time. The next morning, I knew I couldn't keep quiet any longer. The weight of it all was too much to carry. I waited until the tension in the house had settled, or at least until I felt steady enough to confront her. "Vanessa, we need to talk," I said, my voice low but firm, though it betrayed the strain I felt inside. She glanced up from her phone, barely lifting her head. "What now?" she asked, her tone impatient as she swiped at her screen. I took a deep breath, then forced myself to relax. "I saw your messages with Ryan," I said evenly, even though my heart was pounding. I needed her to know that I wasn't making accusations lightly. Her expression froze, her fingers halting mid-swipe. For a moment she looked caught, like she didn't know whether to deny or explain. Then she let out a small sigh and said, "Eric, it's nothing. We're just friends." "Just friends?" struggling to keep my voice from rising. "Do you think I'm blind? The late-night messages, the laughing, the joking, you've been pulling away from me. How am I supposed to feel when you're so connected to someone else?" She placed her phone on the table with a little more force than necessary and looked me in the eye. "You're overthinking this. Ryan is fun to talk to, that's it. Sometimes I just need a break from everything. But I would never cross the line." Her explanation didn't settle anything. If anything, it made the sting sharper. "So, I'm the everything you need a break from?" I asked, my voice tightening. "Is that how far we've fallen?" She groaned and rubbed her temples, clearly frustrated. "That's not what I meant, Eric. I've been bored, okay? Ryan is fun to talk to, that's all. It doesn't mean anything." "Bored?" I repeated, the words slicing through me like a cold blade. "You're bored with me? After everything we've built, everything we've shared, you need him to feel entertained?" She flinched but quickly recovered. "That's not what I meant. It's not about him. It's not about you either. I didn't mean to hurt you," she said quickly. But the damage was already done. Her words painted a picture I couldn't unsee. A life where I wasn't enough, where she found fulfillment in someone else's attention. Even if it wasn't physical, it felt like betrayal. I wanted to believe her, to trust that she'd never crossed the line she spoke of, but the growing space between us told me otherwise. And once trust is shaken, it's nearly impossible to steady it again. That night, as I lay awake next to her, I realized that something fundamental had shifted. Whether or not Vanessa intended to hurt me, the trust we'd built over 25 years felt irreparably cracked. And I wasn't sure if it could ever be mended. The next morning, I stood in the bedroom, staring at the suitcase on the bed. It was surreal, packing up 25 years of my life into a few bags. My hands trembled as I folded my shirts, but my resolve didn't waver. Vanessa's words played over and over in my head like a broken record. She said it was just for fun, just a fantasy. But the damage was already done. Every time I looked at her now, all I could feel was this crushing sense of betrayal. I was no longer the man she wanted, not in the way I thought I'd always be. When I told her I was leaving, her reaction was colder than I expected. Vanessa's eyes widened in shock at first, and then she crossed her arms, her lips tightening in frustration. "You're seriously doing this, Eric?" Over a casual friendship? You're acting like I cheated on you? Her words stung, but I refused to engage. This isn't about a casual friendship, Vanessa. It's about what that suggestion and these messages mean. I can't be in a marriage where I'm constantly wondering if I'm enough for you. I can't stay and feel this way. She laughed bitterly, shaking her head. You'll come back. You always do. You just need to cool off. But this time I knew I wouldn't. Vanessa didn't understand. Or maybe she didn't want to. She thought I was overreacting, blowing things out of proportion. I could see it in her dismissive tone and the way she shrugged off my pain. To her, this was just a phase I'd get over. She kept texting me after I left, asking if I'd come to my senses and stop being so dramatic. But she didn't realize what she'd done. Every time I thought about her, about us, I felt this deep pit of insecurity open up inside me. It wasn't just her suggestion of younger men, it was the way she made me feel dispensable, like I wasn't enough anymore. It will always be evident if I continue to stay with her. Moving out felt like stepping into a void. At first, I didn't know what to do with myself. The apartment I rented was small and impersonal, a far cry from the warm home Vanessa and I had built together. But it was mine, and that meant something. I started with the basics. I joined a gym, not to impress anyone but to remind myself that I could take care of my body and my mind. Each weight I lifted, each mile I ran felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. I reached out to old friends I hadn't spoken to in years. Some were surprised to hear from me, but most welcomed me back with open arms. Slowly I began to find joy in things I'd neglected. A weekly poker night with the guys, Sunday morning hikes, and even cooking meals for myself. It wasn't easy. There were nights when loneliness crept in, when I wondered if I'd made the right decision. But each morning I woke up feeling a little stronger, a little more like myself. Vanessa reached out a few weeks after I left. Her texts softened, less defensive and more introspective. She admitted she'd been wrong to push me, but there was always an undercurrent of her trying to justify her actions. I just wanted us to try something new, she wrote. I never meant to hurt you with my friendship with Ryan. I believed her, but it didn't change how I felt. The trust was broken. Every time I thought about being with her again, I pictured her laughing with Ryan or scrolling through her phone, looking for the next thrill. I'd never be able to shake that doubt, that fear that I'd never be enough for her again. When we finally met in person, she seemed different, softer, vulnerable in a way I hadn't seen in years. She apologized again, but I couldn't give her what she wanted. I forgave her, not for her sake but for mine. Holding on to that anger would only hold me back. In the end, I chose myself. I chose my self-respect over a marriage that had become a source of pain and insecurity. I didn't hate Vanessa, and I didn't blame her entirely. We'd both made mistakes and let the years chip away at what we'd built. But I knew I couldn't go back. Our relationship as it was beyond repair, as I will always have that nagging feeling of being the second choice. Walking away was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also the most liberating. For the first time in years, I felt like I was in control of my own life and my own happiness. And that was worth everything I'd left behind. And that's how his story ended, by making a choice to put his own happiness first. What would you have done if you were in his position? Would you have stayed and tried to rebuild the trust, or would you have walked away like Eric? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you've been through a similar experience or have a story you'd like to share, send us an email. Your story could be featured in one of our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.